Welcome. This is Barry Jones from the Angel School, and we're here for our weekly angel reading for September 13th through the 19th, 2021. So before I begin, I'd just like to welcome anyone who's new to the channel as well, into our Angel School community. And so just to highlight a few things that have happened, and hopefully you've been aware of them, or you've received the notification so that you could. And if you haven't, then I would invite you to subscribe, and by selecting the subscribe button and the all notifications button, even checking your settings if you've already been a subscriber and you're not receiving the notifications. Just make sure you have all notifications marked. Sometimes maybe it could have gotten switched again, but so just check for that. But so this month I've posted the first ever monthly angel reading for September 2021, and I did that to separate the energy or the information from the zodiac readings, and those have been published this past week. So if you haven't been aware of them, you can go to my channel and connect with those zodiac readings. As well, the monthly angel readings that I have been offering since the pandemic began. The special offer for my half-hour reading, which extends it to 1 full hour, is still available this month or September. And what you would do is go to my webpage, theangelschool.com /services, and there's a link below this video for that. And you would select the $77 half-hour reading as is, and then on the first business day of the week, once you submitted your payment, I will send you a confirmation email noting that special offer. And everything that you need is in the email to set up your angel reading appointment. So, well, I don't know, I feel like I want to share this with you, but this summer I, was applying to teaching jobs, and it was really stressful, and I realized that it was not at all what I wanted to do after a few of them. One recently this week, and so it feels such a relief to not be making that decision, and because it would have just taken up so much of my time and taken me away from doing this in some ways, and I really do get so much out of it. And it was just coming to a realization that I am where I'm supposed to be, and I think we all know what that's like, because life, the way we pictured our lives when we started out, certain things we could never have imagined, and we could never have imagined that certain gifts would unfold, and certain passions and a sense of purpose would be our path. And the angel work and the angel readings was one of those things that I could never have imagined that existed, and that such a profound connection was within me to offer. So there's been that internal struggle of accepting that, I think, over a long period of time, and I think I've just finally had this realization in this week, and I think I've slept better on the last few nights than I have probably in a very, very long time. So very happy to be here, sort of clear of mind today. And so, yeah, now the journey really begins as I start to explore all the things that are possible of the gifts that I have to offer. And so I'll be, not immediately, but I will definitely be at some point presenting some things and ideas. And so if people have ideas, not necessarily that I might jump on it right now, but if you have ideas, especially for any kind of things that you feel that that would be a benefit to you, and things that I might be able to help from the channel. I also may start a membership as well. Like I said, not right now, but I'll be getting to it. Where in certain, I don't want it to be too large. I may break it in different groups is the idea, but where, so that you feel like you have a bit of access to me on a more personal level, but in a semi-large group. Okay, so let's take a deep breath and let's center in our hearts. And this connection with our heart is so important. It's the reason why I always start with it, the heart center, because this is the area in which, unless we give permission to continuously open our hearts, when we place our attention here, we signal to the universe that we're opening our hearts and that we're ready to receive. And it's a reminder to you as you breathe each day to breathe into that heart space, this enormous center of love, and remember to open that and to keep it open in order that there is a balance or an exchange of giving and receiving. There was a writing this past week where the Six of Pentacles came up, and the phrase came that we've all heard, that it is more blessed to give than to receive. But I realized that it was that in giving, every time that we open our hearts, we have to give that permission for our hearts to be open. And in giving, we give permission for those doors of our heart to be open. And once you give that permission, then the doors for receiving are automatic. So it's not like one or the other. It is a simultaneous action or reciprocation on both sides of that, the scales of giving and receiving. So when we are not remembering to breathe, or we when we think about receiving, sometimes some of us don't believe we deserve to receive, so we kind of close up, and unintentionally we shut our hearts down, or we close those gates to our heart. Just remember. And that's really important for us to be aware of. I know that phrase kind of may bother us. It's more blessed to give than receive, and especially if you're the giver and you feel like you never receive. But it's not that you're not receiving because you're not giving enough. It really has to do with how much you feel that you're deserving, and you may be giving for reasons to compensate for what you think you might not be worthy to receive. And so that throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in it, right? And so I will say to you then is that if you're not receiving, the door was not open. So then that means that you're giving without consciously being in alignment and aware of when the heart is guiding you to give. And let's just be clear, there's always something that our hearts are guiding us to give, to offer to the world through your own creativity, for as one example, through your special skills and abilities and knowledge, and how you deliver that is a gift. So there's always something to give, but there are many times that when we give, when it is not in alignment for us to do so. And that means that there's a way, there's a couple of ways to say this, but there's a way to sense when someone, let's say that you're offering something to, is not ready for that, or it's not the right time or moment to do it. But we're fixated on them because we want something from them, or we want a response from them that they are not willing to offer, which has nothing to do with our own worthiness. But for some reason, a message has come across that when people do not react to or respond to us in a certain way, that it's personal and it's about us. And that is the mind guiding, and the ego, creating this story based on some wound or trigger within yourself that you didn't let go of, that you took ownership and responsibility for, that really wasn't yours. And it's that, this is where all that starts, because we forget to listen to our hearts for everything, to listen for our heart's discernment. Our heart chakra is sort of like justice. If we go within, it will discern what course of action you need to take, what's appropriate for you within any challenge that you find yourself facing. We can't do this from our minds, from our ego. We can't do this out of our pride. We can't do this out of our good intention to fix it, because every problem that you see is not your problem to fix, and every problem that you see is not your problem either. So let's start there first. Every problem and every situation, every opportunity is not the path of opportunity for you. And yet, there are infinite possibilities and infinite opportunities available to each and every one of us. The thing is that when we fixate through our ego's fears or triggers or wounds or pain or suffering, then it just so happens we don't see the majority of them, but we see all the wrong ones, because they are all the ones that are attuned or aligned with your ego's logic. And I don't know if what it would say that the ego has a purpose, but let's just say the ego's agenda. Then you see what's aligned with your ego's agenda, and then you're frantically trying to fix stuff. Like everywhere there's a problem, and it's exhausting, and it's frustrating, and it's irritating, and it's unfair, because it's not your higher self's perspective. It is not your true alignment. It is not your path. And so your giving could be coming out of the ego's agenda, and therefore the reciprocation is weak to barely, anything, right? You're not getting anything back in return. The opportunities that you're pursuing aren't coming back to you in the way that you might think you want, but definitely not in the way that you deserve. And boy, I could spend the entire time and then say nothing else and go home and talk about this, because I think that this is so key to our manifestation abilities. And they've been really talking about manifestation for the last weeks. And we are at this critical juncture in our ascension process where it said at the beginning of this year that this is a year of integrity. And this piece is that integrity that will keep us, if we tune in and attune ourselves and make the adjustments, we'll tune in to the integrity of our hearts, and therefore pull ourselves or withdraw ourselves from the drama, because this drama of, this person they don't respect me, blah, 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 somebody's doing this, all of that stuff. It's all about, when you're following your ego, you're always in the wrong place at the wrong time. But when you're following your higher self, you're always where you need to be for the right purpose. And your offerings have more value to those who you are aligned with. And there's an immediate sort of reaction or response of appreciation and gratitude, because when you listen to your heart, you are playing your part in the orchestration that of the universe, which is constantly doing all of this background maneuvering and arranging so that we don't have to. And all we have to do is just be true to ourselves, be true to our hearts. So be aware that any suffering, any confusion, any frustration or anxiety is really not about something that's wrong with you, but it's about that we're not aligned with our gifts and our offering and our offerings. We have choice. That is always true. Free will. And that is why you can go against the grain of your heart. And that is also why you can go with the grain of your heart and find infinite opportunities as well. We always have choice. But there is a purpose wherever you show up. And there is a path for that purpose. And your heart knows it because your higher being knows it. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of your heart being open and the giving and receiving. It's all orchestrated around this inner compass that we now must tune into, attune ourselves, attune our thoughts and our awareness to this. I just saw the angel number 525. And that number says, trust that the big changes you're experiencing are for the best and that things will calm down soon. Oh my God, it's just something you wanted to hear, right? And that things will calm down soon. And I get a sense that the changes they're talking about is that you've been trying so diligently to be present, to do the right thing, to be present with your heart, to be in alignment with the universe. You've been really trying to get on that path, and you've been trying to make changes within yourself, but that you're struggling with those changes. There's a lot of feedback, like, you know, is it like if a microphone, you get that all those noise, there's a lot of feedback and a lot of distortion because of that feedback. And at the end of the day, you kind of feel a little lost within yourself, lost within your sense of purpose. And things may not actually be turning out quite the way you imagined them. You know, you may have been so inspired and then find yourself in an uninspiring position. And they're saying that the changes that you're making are not for any, they're not a waste, okay? It felt like I wanted to say they're not for naught, but this is a process right now. This is more about the process of you figuring out what the relationship between what you choose and what your heart is really leading you to do. And we've been giving so much attention to our ego that this process is sort of provoking us to let that go and to bring put the mirror up in front of us so that we recognize, and I feel this release in my chest all of a sudden, this internal turmoil that is just quite unnecessary, because there's just a simpler voice, quiet though it be, but incredibly insightful and powerful, that just will reveal the right alignment to you. And we've been somehow struggling against that. And I feel like something's going to break, is what they're saying, as you've been trying to articulate the changes that you want, or trying to carve them out, that you're going to find your way. You're going to figure out who you are and where you belong. And you're going to know it from within, not from the scarcity of what you're focused upon in the outer reality. Okay, let's take a look. This month's messages have been really tough, haven't they? But definitely I feel rewarding and illuminating. So we have Archangel Jeremiel, and this makes a lot of sense, especially as it pertains to life review. The card is titled here. And I spoke about that with the Hierophant. That's the year card, but the month card, the Hermit, and you know, this reflection, right? And you know, the Hermit, we usually find him on a mountaintop, looking from that higher perspective, and being alone gives him that time to see the full view of his life and to make the right assessments and the right decisions from a place of profound newfound wisdom. And so the Archangel Jeremiel deals with life reviews. You may have heard me talk about this. You know, they say that when we pass on, that what we have is a life review. And what that means is not that somebody just shows you everything you did in your life and then discusses it with you. They don't say a thing. They actually put you in the perspective of everyone that was involved in those key points in your life that may have not somehow had enough resolution, or things that you held on to, or regrets. And they work that out for you by putting you in that other person's shoes, and each person's shoes. And I would dare say, if it was something, let's say, with the plants and the animals, or that we didn't do our part, then we see through their lens as well, all of creation. And that is how we're able to heal, to truly forgive and let go. Because it's that walking in someone else's shoes that's just so important, even when we don't have respect for them. But if you could be in someone else's shoes, you would understand. You may not still like what they've chosen for themselves or what they've done, but you would at least understand all the facets of them that was going off, creating their decision. You know, how much the ego was driving, how little the source within them was able to have enough room, how little the heart was open, or how often the heart was closed, so that the higher options could not be available. All of this would help you to understand. Because why? Because you too have been incarnated through the human experience, and you know personally, even though we don't remember all of it all the time, how challenging it is, and how many times you could have made the other choice, but something saved you from doing so, because at the right moment somehow you found that connection before you made that wrong decision. And so we remember how easy it was for us to have made the wrong choices ourselves. So again, I feel like this is also really hitting to that piece of integrity and really getting in alignment with our heart's voice and expanding that voice. And if you take the time to meditate every day, every morning, first thing before you touch on devices, and I know I'm bad at it too, but just connecting with your heart, this beautiful pink, white, and sometimes you might see gold energy flowing through that, but very light pink. Connect in with this and let your heart, as soon as you do this, your heart will automatically open and expand your wings of light. And then embrace it. Everything that you have to do for that day, embrace that. Send that light to be over those situations. Okay? Now they're reminding me, I kept seeing lamps when I began, and they were not lit. So I feel like that when something's going to go off, happen this week, where your spiritual lamp will click on, sort of like a light bulb moment. And that is going to free you, and that's going to create that calming effect that you so richly deserve. I know we all do. And so it's going to be through some self-reflection or inventory that this unfolds. Let's take a look at the card for the beginning of the week. And we have the World card. And this is amazing, because what this means is that we're ready. We're ready to turn the page to a new chapter. And this card also indicates that, and when we do that, we do have that review. You know, it's sort of like at that death moment, that's what happens before we expire, and then we awaken into this new reality, and then we have that review so that we can heal before moving forward. And it's a similar thing here, that they're writing the word releasing. There are going to be things at the beginning of the week or within this week that you're going to be releasing. And it might be certain responsibilities that you've placed on yourself that have prevented you from being as receptive to your own purpose and your own path. And they're writing yes. Okay? And for some reason, they just wrote, break out the bottle of champagne, like as if you were going to want to, you know, break out the bottle of champagne when you have this moment. Okay, and now we have the Eight of Swords. And so it's possible that there's something just sort of that's been bearing down on you. We have this card recently as well. All right, and this is that piece about the respect, and you know, they're writing offense. So the things that offend us, or the people who offend us, okay, we keep getting stuck there. And what this does is, if you can't move beyond the challenges of the human experience, meaning that the challenge that you're going through may not be the same type because you're on the other end of it, the receiving end of the offense, but that person is behaving that way because they're having a challenge, and they're about to explode because they have no control over it, and they might be projecting or trying to control others in order to, like a security blanket. And you're going to need to understand that enough to free yourself from needing to play a role in this victimhood. You don't deserve to be there, and you need to remove yourself from that dynamic, but you won't be able to do that unless you understand that person. And that's a form of forgiveness. You're not excusing them, but you are releasing yourself of the responsibility to be stuck in that circumstance. Okay? And let's take a look at the card for the end of the week. And here we have the Tower. And this tells me that there's going to be an abrupt, sudden shift. You know, this is the energy of Uranus. So this means that there's going to be an abrupt, sudden shift. You know, you're going to you're going to have that aha moment that I really believe the World card was speaking about, that's going to free you from this dynamic, however it is playing out in your life. And when you look at this card, you have to think about a moment you felt like that. You know, look at her heart, her purple heart, and she's protecting it. And that's our whole point. That's the entire point. Remember, we're talking about this giving and receiving. And when they say it's more blessed to give than receive, that's why in this case it's more blessed to give forgiveness, not for them, but to release your heart. Because what are you doing? Look at what she's doing. Heart's closing up. And that means she can't receive her next mission, her next opportunity, so that she's no longer stuck in this agenda of the ego. You can't let a situation shut down your spirit, your heart, because if you do, and you get caught up in every day they're not, and you know, complaining about this person treats me this way, and they do this, and they do this, and da 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 da. Well, you're stuck, and your heart's closed off, and meanwhile the universe is guiding you this way. But they just wrote acceptance. You got to accept that people are the way they are, and it just has nothing to do with you. even if they're directing all of their attention and their disdain towards you, it has nothing to do with you, because they don't know you, because you don't know them enough to be able to put yourself in their shoes for a moment to see what it is that's creating this sort of a monster and then be like, wow, well, you got to deal with that. But then I also got to do what's best for me and make the better decisions, make the right choices that'll put me in a position where I am receiving what I deserve. If that makes sense to you. Now, this card comes sort of like a double-edged sword, because it is a card that's saying the divine intervention. They're going to help you out. They're going to free you. But if you don't go, but how they free you is through your heart, the compass. They free you through your heart. They give you guidance, direction, a place to look for support, or a new role, or a new job opportunity, or a new relationship, or better friends, or a better living environment, or better location near something that, a refuge that really inspires you. Freedom is what they're going to give you, the message in your heart, that change that will give you freedom. But if you resist it and you keep holding on to this drama in this situation, well, then this is going to be an explosive situation, which means, see, if you stay attached to this person, then they were already exploding. That's why they're acting out this way. And then that means that your situation is going to be like theirs, because you are attached to them. The person is siphoning your energy, you're connected, and you're feeding off of each other. So you got to feed off the same collective feedback. And now you're going to experience something that isn't yours, that's going to impact you at a deeper level, that's going to be uncomfortable. So get yourself free of this and place your compassion where it can be of good use to you. You're not letting somebody off the hook, but you're making things clearer and better for you. And so this card that I pulled from the bottom of the deck is giving us sort of the advice and what the focus is, what the underlying message is here, and the Two of Cups. And this is about a healing, a relationship healing, a relationship dynamic that is healing. There's an opportunity for that to happen, to be on one accord. You don't have to agree, but you can at least be like, at least I get where you're coming from. I get what's going on here. And this is not my situation, my problem, not my responsibility or role to fix. My heart is not asking me to do this in order to get over here. Sometimes we take on responsibilities as if I can't get here unless I do this. But you got to make sure your heart said that was your path. And that's what I'm talking about. And when we don't do that, our giving is not appropriate, and our receiving will be lacking. And you will know it because they just wrote the word energy. When the first thing you need to pay attention to as a sign of receiving that your giving is appropriate is your energy level. Isn't that interesting? When your energy level is depleted, the giving is off. If you got to go out and buy a gift and you're stressing, then you're not doing what's appropriate. You're not listening to your heart that has already connected with the heart of that other person and their guardian angel, and your guardian angel is telling you, And through your heart, this is not what this person needs. This is not a part of their life path. Even when you think it's got to be done, it's appropriate, and I'm just being extreme right now. Please don't take this as a normal thing to do. But let's just say, because I want to make a point here, that it's appropriate in our social world to give a gift for, let's say, your best friend when there's a special occasion and they're having an event. But your heart, you're stressing about it, and then your heart is telling you there's no gift to give, but to be present. Even if that gift triggers the person, there is a reason for that. But that's extreme, and highly irregular, and I can't imagine the situation, but I'm just trying to make the point. The point is that sometimes, all of the time, I believe, our hearts tells us exactly what gift to offer, but our ego tells us that that's just too simple and pathetic. They'll never like it. And then you go by the bigger thing that you think your ego has told you is perfect, and then you don't get the reaction you're looking for because you didn't trust your heart, who knows from the heart of that person through the guardian angel what that person secretly really wanted. And it could be that simple thing. And because you brought it to them like an angel, their heart will be filled with such deep and profound joy and pleasure in a way that you just couldn't have touched them. You couldn't have imagined touching them in that way. And this is the importance of listening to the compass of our heart and not our ego. And in order to do that, we got to develop this relationship daily, throughout the day, with our hearts. And feeling, by giving it our attention, we will become more and more aware of its openness and all of its gifts and its desires. And that is to say, on both ends of the spectrum of giving and receiving. All right, so I send you lots of love and angel blessings, and I wish you a wonderful and beautiful week. God bless you.